Age spares no one, and by the age of 80, a person can lose up to half the muscle mass they had in their youth. This isn't just a feeling of weakness, it's a condition known as sarcopenia, which stealthily creeps in and deprives millions of elderly people worldwide of their strength, balance, and independence. Over 50 million older adults already suffer from this problem, and each year more than 300,000 of them are hospitalized due to falls caused by weakened muscles. But what's truly thought-provoking is that a new study published in the Journal of Physiology challenges the established notion that muscle loss is an inevitable part of aging. It turns out that some people in their 70s and even 80s maintain strength, mobility, and appearance as if they were decades younger, while others struggle with everyday tasks like getting out of a chair or climbing stairs. What's the secret to their enduring youth? The problem is that the vast majority, namely 93% of older adults, are unaware of the habits that can reverse or at least slow down this process of muscle loss. And even more surprisingly, most doctors don't even mention these possibilities. However, according to leading researchers from the Mayo Clinic and Harvard Medical School, there are scientifically proven daily habits that can help restore strength, build muscle mass, and maintain independence for years to come. What are these habits that can grant a second youth? Alas, a significant portion of humanity makes a regrettable mistake every day, subtly fueling muscle loss. Sometimes people don't even suspect that this seemingly insignificant behavioral trait is working against them. However, it's worth paying attention to this aspect because correcting it can be the deciding factor between independence in actions and the need to resort to outside help in basic household situations. Let's turn our attention to the 7 daily habits typical of the strongest and most energetic members of the older generation. Those who, even in their advanced years, do not deny themselves the joys of hiking mountain trails, actively engage in sports, and demonstrate impressive results in strength exercises, often surpassing young athletes twice their age. The 7th habit, worthy of special attention, is hormetic stress. A peculiar key to strength which, oddly enough, is in plain sight for everyone. Many tend to believe that aging inevitably entails weakening of the body and that muscle loss is an integral part of the natural process. But what if the real reason lies not so much in time as in the pursuit of excessive comfort? As it turns out, one of the most effective ways to maintain strength and muscle mass in adulthood, whether it's 70, 80, or even 90 years old, is not to consume miraculous pills, powders, or protein bars. The secret lies in what many of us try to avoid in every possible way: stress. More specifically, hormetic stress, a special type of short-term, dosed, and controlled stress that can make the body stronger and more resistant to external influences over time. Surely everyone is familiar with the feeling of vigor after an ice-cold shower or the feeling of complete renewal after visiting a sauna. However, this is not just a fleeting mood improvement, but the activation of powerful processes at the cellular level that can slow down aging. Short-term stressful effects, such as cold, heat, or fasting, trigger survival mechanisms in the body. These mechanisms protect muscle tissue, stimulate the work of mitochondria, and activate recovery hormones that support the youthfulness of the body. Consider, for example, the effect of cold. Just 30-60 seconds under an ice-cold shower can increase the production of adiponectin, a hormone that prevents muscle breakdown. At the same time, regular sauna visits, according to Finnish studies, reduce muscle loss in older adults by as much as 40%. Even intermittent fasting, which involves limiting food intake to 8 to 10 hours a day, can improve muscle cell function by 10% in just 12 weeks, without loss of weight or strength. Surprisingly, even isometric exercises, such as pushing or pulling with maximum effort against a stationary object for 5 to 10 seconds, can stimulate the same muscle-building processes as a full workout, but with much less stress on the joints. Of course, moderation is important in everything. Hormetic stress has a positive effect precisely because of its short duration. Excessive zeal can lead to undesirable consequences. However, with the right approach, it activates longevity genes, contributing to the preservation of muscle strength for many years. Despite significant scientific evidence, most older adults neglect this practice, either considering it too radical or due to a lack of awareness of its benefits. Now, knowing the benefits of moderate and controlled discomfort, be it short-term exposure to cold, mild fasting, or brief muscle contractions, people over 60 can significantly strengthen their muscles for years to come. Next, we will discuss a common daily habit that many older adults adhere to with the best intentions, but which, paradoxically, can negatively affect their muscle health. This habit is related to the timing of protein intake, a factor often underestimated in muscle building. It is well known that protein plays an important role in maintaining muscles, especially in old age. However, many do not realize that the timing of protein intake can be as significant as the amount. This is where the concept of protein timing comes into play, which can be key to slowing muscle loss in older adults without drastically changing their diet. Over time, the human body undergoes changes, and the ability to effectively use protein for building and repairing muscle tissue decreases. This phenomenon, known in scientific circles as anabolic resistance, emphasizes that simply consuming protein is no longer a sufficient condition for maintaining muscle mass. Often, older adults make a common mistake by underestimating the importance of evenly distributing protein throughout the day. They tend to consume a small amount of protein in the morning and afternoon, trying to compensate for this with a large dinner. However, this approach does not bring the desired result. The fact is that muscles can effectively synthesize protein only for a limited period of time after eating, about 3 to 4 hours. If the main portion of protein falls only on one meal, the body loses many opportunities to stimulate muscle growth. The optimal solution is to evenly distribute protein throughout the day. It is recommended to consume 25-30 grams of high-quality protein with each meal, starting with breakfast. Instead of traditional toast or cereal in the morning, you can prefer Greek yogurt, eggs, cottage cheese, or a protein shake. For lunch and dinner, include lean meat, fish, tofu, legumes, or dairy products in your diet. This approach will ensure a constant supply of amino acids necessary for maintaining and growing muscle mass. A new study conducted by scientists at the University of Texas revealed a surprising effect. Older adults who adhered to a specific eating strategy were able to increase their muscle mass by 1.2 pounds in just 3 months. At the same time, they did not change their usual lifestyle, did not resort to additional training, and did not use any special supplements. The secret was only in a more competent distribution of meal times. Moreover, optimal distribution of protein throughout the day helps maintain stable blood sugar levels, control appetite, and even improve cognitive functions, which tend to worsen with age. Thus, if you are striving to consume enough protein, do not let the wrong diet limit your results. A few minor adjustments to your daily diet can be a powerful tool for preserving muscle mass. Next, we will turn to a vitamin, the deficiency of which is observed in more than 80% of older adults, and consider how its improper use can imperceptibly undermine your efforts to maintain strength. We are talking about vitamin D, which is often called the silent killer of strength. Most people associate vitamin D with bone health. However, this important nutrient has another hidden side that plays a key role in maintaining muscle strength with age. Sad statistics show that more than 80% of older people face a lack of vitamin D, often without realizing it. It is important to realize that this vitamin plays a key role not only in maintaining bone health, but also in ensuring normal muscle function. Muscle cells contain vitamin D receptors, and its deficiency can negatively affect their ability to build, recover, and function properly. One significant study published in the JMA Internal Medicine Journal found that older adults with optimal vitamin D levels demonstrated 25% greater muscle strength compared to those with a deficiency. In addition, they had faster reaction times, better balance, and a reduced risk of falls, which is an important factor for maintaining independence in old age. As we age, our skin's ability to efficiently produce vitamin D from sunlight diminishes, potentially decreasing by 50% by the age of 60. This means that even with sufficient outdoor exposure, older adults may not be getting the necessary amount of vitamin D. The recommended daily allowance of vitamin D for older adults is 600 IU, but studies suggest this may not be enough to achieve optimal blood levels. Many experts recommend increasing the dosage to 2,000–4,000 IU per day, especially in cases of limited sun exposure or inadequate consumption of vitamin D-rich foods, like fatty fish and fortified dairy products. However, there's an important consideration when taking vitamin D supplements, especially in increased dosages: ensuring adequate intake of vitamin K2. Otherwise, calcium, instead of being directed to bone tissue and muscles, may start depositing in arteries, increasing the likelihood of cardiovascular disease. Vitamin K2 can be obtained from foods like fermented soybeans, certain types of hard cheese, egg yolks, and organ meats. So, what steps can be taken to maintain optimal levels of vitamins D and K2? First and foremost, it's recommended to consult a doctor and get a blood test for vitamin D. Ideally, its level should exceed 40 nanograms per milliliter. If necessary, vitamin D3 supplements should be taken, preferably in combination with vitamin K2. It's also worth enriching your diet with foods rich in these vitamins. Additionally, try to spend 15–20 minutes in the sun in the middle of the day when possible. Seemingly simple actions, but proper consumption of this vital nutrient can make the difference between maintaining strength and endurance and gradual decline. Next, we will examine one of the most frequently overlooked causes of age-related muscle loss, namely, how processes occurring in the gut can subtly undermine the body's strength from within. We will be talking about chronic inflammation, the silent thief of muscle mass. When it comes to inflammation, most people imagine obvious signs: swollen joints, redness, pain. However, the most dangerous is hidden inflammation, which is asymptomatic. It is known as chronic low-grade inflammation, or, as scientists now call it, inflammaging. For older adults, this factor is one of the most underestimated and destructive in the context of muscle loss. In the depths of the human body, an imperceptible but destructive drama unfolds over time. As the years pass, pockets of inflammation accumulate in the body, often fueled by lack of sleep, disruption of harmony in the gut, stressful situations, or hidden intolerances to certain foods. This insidious, ongoing inflammation doesn't manifest in sudden and acute symptoms, but gradually saps vital energy. A groundbreaking study conducted at Tufts University revealed a disturbing pattern. Older adults with high levels of inflammation in their bodies lose muscle mass 3 times faster than their peers with lower levels of inflammatory processes. This is regardless of whether they consume the same amount of protein or exercise regularly. The reason is that inflammation interferes with the anabolic signals that muscles rely on for growth and repair. Simply put, it becomes harder for the body to build muscle mass and easier to break it down. However, there is a silver lining in this bleak scenario. The most robust and resilient elderly people, often referred to as superagers, have one thing in common. They have found simple but effective ways to maintain low levels of inflammation in their bodies. Here are some useful habits to adopt. First and foremost, prioritize quality sleep. Maintaining a sleep schedule, going to bed at the same time every night in complete darkness, can reduce levels of inflammatory cytokines by as much as 40%. It's equally important to maintain gut health. The gut is one of the main sources of inflammation in older adults. Therefore, superagers strive to eat more than 30 different plant-based foods per week, as well as fermented foods such as yogurt, kefir, and sauerkraut to create a favorable environment for the development of healthy gut bacteria. Careful attention to physical activity is necessary for achieving optimal health and longevity. Movement is certainly a vital component of a healthy lifestyle, but excessive exertion can lead to undesirable consequences, such as increased inflammatory processes in the body. That's why many older adults report feeling significantly better when they maintain moderate daily activity and supplement it with just a few short but intense workouts during the week. Equally important is a balanced diet that includes foods with anti-inflammatory properties. In particular, fatty fish rich in omega-3 fatty acids, curcumin found in turmeric, polyphenols abundant in berries, as well as green tea and olive oil, help soothe the immune system and protect muscle tissue. For best results, it is recommended to consume 2 to 3 grams of omega-3 fatty acids daily. If you have any doubts about the level of inflammation in your body, it is advisable to consult a doctor and undergo a high-sensitivity C-reactive protein, HSCRP, test. This simple blood test can detect hidden inflammatory processes that may be occurring unnoticed. Typically, people in excellent health and with longevity maintain HSCRP levels below 1.0 milligram per liter, while many older adults may have levels 3 to 5 times higher without even realizing it. In conclusion, it should be emphasized that even the most well-thought-out diet and carefully designed workout plan cannot fully protect muscles if the body is in a state of chronic inflammation. Therefore, the primary task is to reduce inflammation, which will create favorable conditions for muscle growth and strength. Now, let's turn our attention to a group of powerful micronutrients that, like invisible helpers, support muscle function. Their deficiency can negate all the efforts spent in training. We are talking about micronutrients, those unsung heroes who remain in the shadows, while the main stars, such as proteins, carbohydrates, and fats, bask in the limelight of dietetics. However, if you are over 60 and strive to maintain your strength, you should pay special attention to these microscopic but vital elements. Think of them as a team of behind-the-scenes workers who do not build muscle directly, but without whom the body cannot effectively use the protein it consumes and get the most out of exercise. And here's the problem. Most older adults are deficient in at least one of these key nutrients, often without even knowing it. Let's start with one of the most important players, magnesium. This often overlooked element plays a vital role in more than 300 biochemical reactions related to muscles, including energy production, muscle contraction, and recovery. Unfortunately, more than 70% of older adults do not get enough of this valuable mineral. Studies show that older adults who get enough magnesium have 30% greater grip strength and better physical performance compared to those with even a slight deficiency. To replenish magnesium stores, it is recommended to eat leafy greens, nuts, seeds, beans, and of course, some dark chocolate. Creatine is not just a supplement for bodybuilders. It plays an important role in helping muscles accumulate energy and has a positive effect on strength and cognitive function, especially in older adults. Studies show that daily consumption of 3 to 5 grams of creatine contributes to increased muscle mass, increased strength, and even improved brain function in older adults, especially when combined with regular strength training. Vitamin B12 becomes especially important with age. This is because the body's ability to effectively absorb B12 decreases significantly over the years, especially when taking proton pump inhibitors or metformin, 2 common medications among older adults. B12 plays a key role in maintaining the health of the nervous system, energy metabolism, and muscle signaling. It is important to note that the most effective form is methylated B12, or methylcobalamin, rather than the cheap synthetic version often found in multivitamins. Don't forget about trace elements. Zinc promotes muscle recovery and supports a healthy immune system. Selenium protects muscles from oxidative stress. Chromium improves insulin sensitivity, helping nutrients reach muscle tissue more effectively. A long-term study conducted at Tufts University showed that older adults with optimal levels of these trace elements retained 22% more muscle mass over 5 years compared to those who were deficient in these substances. So what to do in this situation? Don't rely on guesswork and chance. It is strongly recommended to consult a doctor for a detailed analysis of microelements which will accurately determine the existing deficiencies in the body. Primary attention should be paid to including whole foods in the diet, as they are a treasure trove of vitamins and minerals. The use of dietary supplements should be conscious and strategic, based solely on the actual needs of the body, and not on blindly following fashion or advertising. After all, no matter how perfectly balanced the protein intake or how carefully planned the workouts, a full return from them will be impossible without a sufficient amount of microelements, which play a key role in ensuring the smooth operation of all body systems. Next, we propose to delve into a fascinating study of the relationship between the brain and muscles, and to find out why maintaining one specific connection can be a real key to maintaining strength, coordination, and independence in adulthood. Let's consider habit number 2, namely neuromuscular connections, which represent a hidden factor that determines the relationship between strength and the aging process. When it comes to muscle loss, many people imagine a decrease in muscle fibers or a lack of exercise. However, what if the real reason lies not in the muscles themselves, but in the decreased ability of the nervous system to effectively manage them? Indeed, there is an inextricable link between the brain and muscles, known in scientific circles as the neuromuscular junction, and this connection plays a decisive role in maintaining strength, coordination of movements, and independence in adulthood. Unfortunately, this vital connection is subject to weakening, and this process often goes unnoticed by most people. It is worth noting that no amount of protein intake or intense physical exercise can fully compensate for the loss of this connection. After reaching the age of 60, neuromuscular connections begin to rapidly degrade unless deliberate efforts are made to maintain them. For clarity, you can imagine them as electrical outlets. If the wiring is damaged, then even the most powerful muscle will not be able to function properly, since the signal from the brain simply will not pass. However, fortunately, recent scientific research indicates that there are certain strategies that allow you to maintain or even restore these most important pathways for transmitting information from the brain to the muscles. Thanks to this, older people can remain strong, mobile, and maintain clarity of mind. What is the secret of the so-called super-aged people? First of all, they pay attention to training coordination and not just developing strength. Activities that require precise movements and a sense of time, such as Tai Chi, dancing, tennis, or even table tennis, have a stimulating effect on the brain and nervous system that cannot be obtained from ordinary walking or weightlifting. In 2020, a study was conducted that showed that in older people who regularly performed coordination exercises twice a week, neuromuscular connections were preserved 31% better than in those who adhered to traditional training. Secondly, it is recommended to consume certain nutrients to maintain the health of the nervous system. Compounds such as alpha-lipoic acid and acetyl L-carnitine have antioxidant properties and help protect neuromuscular junctions from damage caused by oxidative stress. Vitamin B1 in the form of benothiamine, as well as huperzine A extract, as studies show, contribute to increasing the level of acetylcholine, the most important neurotransmitter necessary for the transmission of nerve impulses to the muscles. Thirdly, stimulation of the vagus nerve can have a beneficial effect on the neuromuscular system. Breathing exercises, for example, the square breathing technique. Inhale for 4 seconds, hold your breath for 4 seconds, exhale for 4 seconds, and hold again for 4 seconds. Help activate the parasympathetic nervous system, thereby improving the transmission of nerve signals to the muscles. Studies show that performing this exercise for 5 minutes daily can increase nerve activation in muscles by up to 15%. Fourthly, maintaining cognitive functions plays an important role in maintaining neuromuscular activity. A decrease in cognitive abilities is often accompanied by a loss of muscle mass, since the same neural networks are involved in the processes of thinking, memory, and movement control. A study conducted at Columbia University showed that in older people who regularly performed complex mental tasks such as solving puzzles, learning new skills, or training memory, neuromuscular function was preserved better than in those who did not pay due attention to cognitive activity. While popular fitness advice often emphasizes physical exercise, older adults realize that without active brain stimulation, muscles cannot function optimally. Notably, these beneficial habits are simple to implement, enjoyable, and can be done at home, eliminating the need for a gym or expensive equipment. What follows is the most effective habit, which scientists call the closest thing to the elixir of youth, and it may surprise many. The number one habit, recognized as the best in the fight against aging, is progressive resistance training. If one habit distinguishes energetic and independent 80-year-olds from their less active peers, it is this. It's not about supplements or exotic superfoods, or even walking, swimming, or yoga, although these activities also provide significant benefits. Progressive resistance training, according to researchers at Tufts University, is the most effective means of slowing down the aging process. After the age of 30, adults begin to lose 3 to 8% of their muscle mass each decade, and this process accelerates significantly after age 60. It is important to understand that this is not just about appearance or athletic achievement. Decreased muscle mass leads to reduced strength, impaired balance, limited mobility, slowed metabolism, and loss of independence. Unfortunately, many overlook one important fact. Muscles do not maintain themselves simply because a person remains active. To maintain and even strengthen muscles weakened by age, it is necessary to regularly subject them to stress and stimulate their growth. In this regard, progressive overload comes to the forefront as a key element. Older adults seeking to maintain their physical fitness adhere to 4 fundamental principles. First and foremost, they focus on intensity, not just physical activity. Short, intense strength training sessions have a more significant impact on aging muscles than prolonged periods of light activity. A study conducted at McMaster University convincingly demonstrated that just 2 weeks of high-intensity training led to greater increases in muscle mass than 5 weeks of moderate exercise. It is important to understand that the goal is not to lift the maximum weight, but to safely achieve muscle exhaustion, the feeling when it is impossible to perform another repetition with proper technique. It is at this point that muscle growth begins. Secondly, priority is given to complex movements. Instead of isolating individual muscles with exercises such as leg extensions or curls, older adults striving for super age choose full-body exercises that mimic movements performed in real life. Squats or chair rises, push-ups, even against a wall, rows or pull-ups using elastic bands, deadlifts or hip flexions performed with proper technique are excellent choices. These movements engage more muscle groups, stimulate hormone production, and develop functional strength that is truly useful in everyday life. Thirdly, these outstanding athletes carefully monitor their progress and steadily raise the bar of difficulty. Constantly working with the same weights or performing the same exercises causes the muscles to stop adapting to the load. People who have preserved their youth record their workouts and gradually increase the weight, number of repetitions, or level of difficulty of the exercises to constantly stimulate muscle growth. Fourthly, they give their muscles enough time to recover. Strength training inevitably leads to micro-damage to muscle fibers, and the body needs time to repair and strengthen them. You should not train the same muscle groups 2 days in a row. Muscles should be given 48 to 72 hours between workouts to recover and strengthen. In conclusion, aging is not a sentence to infirmity, but rather a challenge that can be accepted. With the right habits and a positive attitude, you can maintain strength, independence, and vitality for many years to come. Over time, it is necessary to increase the difficulty of training. Consistently using the same light weight will not produce the desired results. It is important to keep a record of your workouts, even in a simple notebook, and strive for small progress each week, increasing the number of repetitions, increasing resistance, or increasing time under load. In weight training, it is crucial to control the speed of movements, paying particular attention to the lowering phase of the weight. The eccentric phase, where the weight is lowered slowly and with control, significantly increases muscle tension. This stimulates muscle growth while simultaneously reducing the risk of joint injuries. This method is recognized as one of the safest and most effective ways to strengthen the body in old age. Even people starting at ages 70-80 are capable of achieving impressive results. Studies show that a 12-week strength training program with gradual increases in load allows older adults to gain an average of 1.3 kg of muscle mass and increase strength by 35%. A study conducted at the University of Alabama revealed that strengthening muscles positively impacts cognitive function, increases bone density, and improves blood glucose control. Notably, achieving these results requires only 2 30-minute workouts per week. Despite this, many older adults avoid strength training, fearing it may be dangerous or inappropriate for their age. However, the real danger lies in the absence of physical activity. Without regular weight training, muscle loss becomes inevitable, leading to weakness, increased risk of falls, and loss of independence. In conclusion, if only one beneficial habit could be highlighted, it would be progressive weight training. Characterized by safety and accessibility, this method can radically change a person's life, regardless of their current physical condition. It's important to emphasize that there's no need to do this alone. A qualified trainer, experienced physical therapist, or even specialized online resources can provide invaluable assistance in starting this journey, ensuring safety and confidence at every step. Currently, there are a number of scientifically backed habits that enable older individuals to not just cope with aging, but to thrive during this period of life. Whether you're 60, 70, 80, or older, it's never too late to become stronger, wiser, and more independent than before. Aging doesn't necessarily have to mean slowing down, especially when scientific research provides us with the knowledge of how to train more effectively, eat more rationally, and live a more fulfilling life by gradually incorporating beneficial habits, one at a time. It is recommended to choose one specific habit and start practicing it today. Avoid trying to implement all 7 habits at once. Instead, focus on one thing. This could be, for example, adding 30 grams of protein to your daily breakfast, performing a 10-second isometric hold, or simply spending time in the sun to get the necessary dose of vitamin D. Whatever habit you choose, it's important to practice it consciously and purposefully. Then you can move on to the next beneficial habit. Remember that the efforts you make today are valuable investments in your future, in the version of yourself that will be able to continue traveling, dancing, and moving freely for many years to come.